Yeah, just we knew we needed to have a good restart and try to get locked up as soon as we could, and we didn't do a very good job of that, Brad and I. And then Kenseth and Biffle kind of got away, and then we were able to get hooked up because of the help that I had from behind me coming off turn 2 there, and just tried to keep pushing Brad till the front straightaway here where I knew where I could make a move, and just unfortunately I must have screwed something up or something because we got to turn 3 and come unhooked. So just gave a win away over there. Not sure exactly what happened, but we definitely need to go back and figure out what it was.
I will take questions. Ed Hinton had one. Raise your hand, Ed. We'll get you the wireless. A little bit off to your right there, Kyle.
Ed Hinton, ESPN.com. Kyle, Brad just said what happened up there. He didn't think you'd screwed up. What happened was he said he had a move-all plan where he would go up high and then pull back down on you. So you said earlier if he had done something that was pretty smart. If he did that, was that pretty smart?
I guess so. He won the race, right? Yeah. There you have it. You answered your own question.
We're also joined by our third-place finisher. That's Matt Kenseth. He drove the number 17 Best Buy Ford for Roush Fenway Racing, and Matt certainly up front most of the race. Had a good race-type winning race car. Take us through the final few laps.
Yeah, I think we had the winning car. We just really didn't have the winning driver. So on that last restart, Greg and I got hooked together like Daytona. And of all the cars I raced around all day, Greg was he could really push me fast. So we got clear in front of the two and Kyle. And as soon as we became clear, it wasn't long after that, I looked forward for a second to make sure I was on the yellow line. When I looked back, Greg and I were separated, and those guys were already outside of him. So it's just with nobody behind him, he lost his speed, and with me not paying enough attention and dragging a brake and keeping us hooked up, it just kind of cost us a shot at the win and cost Greg a shot at the win there. So just didn't do a very good job of managing where he was in that last restart.
Matt Kenseth now second in points, 7 points behind teammate Greg Biffle. Other questions for Kyle or Matt? I know we have some in the press box. Go ahead, please.
Thanks. Monty Dutton, Gazette. Yesterday, well, day before yesterday, I guess, Jeff Gordon said that he thought that there would be overheating problems, not just in bump drafting, but just running in a pack. It looked like a lot of times there's a certain sense where a lot of guys in the draft were sort of keeping a healthy distance, not just right on back. Did any of that surprise you, or did you think, I mean, obviously you two survived it, but were the overheating problems what you expected or worse?
Pretty much what we expected from my vantage point anyways. We left pit road before the race even started at 2:30, and rolling under caution you could get it to 2:25, but racing out there it was hard to keep it below 240, just running in a line, especially on the outside. A lot of guys being real tight up there. That's the only way to make that lane go and get your temps up a little bit, but it was just ours were okay there. We just had to really work hard at making sure that they didn't go over 240.
Other questions in the press box?
No more questions.
Okay, we'll come back down here. Let's get this gentleman right here, microphone, right in here in the middle. And then we'll go over to Mike Mulhern and then back to Ed and then Jeff.
Guys, when the sun came out in the afternoon, how did the track conditions change at all?
It's my turn.
Yeah, sure.
For me, it didn't really change much. Maybe lost a little bit of grip. My car was actually loose at times, but I think it was just depended where you were. So I didn't think it really changed a lot for me.
Same.
Off to the right, Mike Mulhern.
Mike Mulhern, I know what you're going to say probably about the Fords, because the Fords have this cooling thing well under control, but the Chevrolets blew up a lot, and Jeff Gordon said it was a joke that they have to do something before you guys get to Daytona. What do you both think about this temperature, pop-off valve, whatever all that stuff is? Do they need to give you guys more air, cooler engines?
My turn again. Well, the thing I will say is it's harder to lobby for something than it was before, because they have all the information. So NASCAR will sit down and they can look at every single car's water and oil temp and RPM and all that stuff from the time they start the engine to the time they shut it off. So I think NASCAR probably has a better idea of where everybody's stuff ran probably than we do. I don't think we know where our own cars ran in our own organization, but you know, it gets hot in the back, and when you start pushing, I was back there just a couple times, and it was hard to push it all. But I think that was kind of what they're looking for. Then they could push for their couple laps, and that was about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's kind of what everybody wanted. You know, we wanted to go back to the pack style drafting. I think we saw that today. You saw 2 lanes, 3 lanes wide much of the race. You know, guys were. It was really hard. It's hard to make the outside lane go if you're not able to push a whole lot, just because you need to push to get the momentum of that lane going, because it's kind of the longer way around. But cooling issues, just I mean, we all knew it was going to be the name of the game. You just work as hard as you can as a driver to make it cool, because there's nothing else that's going to make the thing cool for you.
Jeff, do you have a question? Or Don? Well, Jeff Don, I'm sorry. Jeff Don.
For Matt, were you worried on that restart? Were you afraid that something like that was going to happen? And for Kyle, did you and Brad have any sort of plan, or did that just sort of happen?
Yeah, I mean, I was worried on the restart. I think in a plate race, you can only see a couple cars behind you usually. So I don't know about Kyle. He's a little better probably at doing that stuff than me. But I worry about it all the time, because I can only see the first couple cars behind me. And you know, if a bunch of people bail out of that lane and you're not paying enough attention, you don't get in front of that lane, even if you have one of the fastest cars like I thought we did, you can still get beat pretty easily. So, I mean, you could see that at the end. I think if I would have done, you know, better managing, keeping Greg locked to me, I don't think them guys would have beat us. You know, if I could have slowed up a little bit and, you know, stayed on his front bumper, I think we would have been first and second. So, yeah, you're always worried at these places, because you only have so much control.
Yeah, and for Brad and I, there wasn't really a plan necessarily before the restart. You just, whatever situation you get thrown in, that's kind of the guy you got to go work with at the end of the race. You know, yesterday it changed a couple times for us in the nationwide race, and at the end it was Joey and I, so that worked out well. But today it was, you know, Matt and I, the first restart, and then the lanes kind of changed where he can get hooked up with Greg. So then I went with Brad there, and just kind of it falls into place.
Let's go Don and then back over to Ed. Go ahead, Don, off to your left.
Matt, Don Coble with Morris News Service. For someone who might not understand, it almost sounds like the reason you didn't win today was because you were too good. I mean, you just said you needed to slow down so nobody could, you know. Were you a victim of your own self today? Were you too fast? I mean, were you too good?
Well, no, I wasn't too fast. I was just, you know, too stupid, I guess, at the end to keep him with me. But I think there's a lot of things that happened there at Daytona in the 150s and the 500. I didn't worry about if the guy was attached behind me, because if he had 2 or 3 guys behind him in his lane, we were still fast enough, and when he'd get a car length and a half from me, he'd push me out far enough where a tandem couldn't beat us, you know. So I kind of had that same strategy today. I said, well, if I get pushed away, you know, I think we'll be okay. And I think if I think Brad led that line with Kyle behind, if they would have stayed behind him until we got to turn 3, I think we still would have been okay. But I think when they bailed out, it made Greg's car go slower, and he lost his momentum, and then he couldn't, you know, stay sealed up to me. So I just I should have watched Shamir and managed that and drug the brake a little bit better. But earlier in the race when Greg was behind me, he could push me so hard he could almost spin me out, and I wouldn't be dragging the brake at all. So I didn't really I didn't think we would really lose our seal until we at least got back to turn 4, because typically on a restart everybody kind of pushes each other and stays in line for a little while. And I was hoping that bottom, you know, once we got in front of them too, I was hoping all 4 of us would kind of be locked together, and at least until we got to max speed. But that just didn't happen, and I didn't watch it close enough.
Follow up, Don, and then we'll go Ed, and then we'll go press box. Go ahead.
A quick follow-up. When you became detached from Greg, it was just a matter of a second or two. Is that how quick somebody can get a run on you, that it's just, you said you look forward and you look back and all of a sudden Greg wasn't there and they're already beside you? I mean, does it happen that quick?
Yeah, it's a little harder on a restart, at least for me, because, you know, you can feel them pushing you and everything. Well, then you switch gears and you can feel it get light, you know. But a lot of times when it gets light, you're still attached. You know, I mean, I could feel he wasn't really shoving me anymore, but you know, the RPMs were still coming up and it felt light. And as soon as I realized I was attached or detached, we already had, you know, 2 or 3 car lengths of separation between us. So either way, I knew we had I knew we lost. If I would have slowed down and waited for him at that instant, we weren't gonna do anything. So I just kept going and hope for the best.
Back over here to Ed, and then we'll go to the press box.
One quick one for each of you. Matt, you answered most of this just now, but just to clarify, do you think maybe you were sort of a victim of your own confidence in the 17's plate racing ability going all the way back to Daytona? Are you saying just how good it was, you were sort of a victim of knowing how good it was?
No, not confidence, not that. I think over what happened at Daytona and over what happened throughout the course of the day, every time Greg was behind me, I never drugged a brake, and he could just shove me so hard it almost spin me out in the middle of the straightaway. So I didn't really once we were attached, and I made sure we were attached to getting into one, and we pulled down to the bottom lane in front of them guys, I didn't think there was a chance that I would have drove off them. I thought we were, going, and he was pushing so hard, I didn't think we could have came separated.
And for Kyle, just to make sure, when you talk about you got detached from Brad, that was just seconds after y'all got drafted past them. Is that when you're talking about that you lost him to 3 after y'all passed him down the back? Or?
No, it was a full lap later.
Oh, okay. It was on the final lap then.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Let's go press box.
Nate Ryan, USA Today, for both Kyle or Matt, or both of you. I know you guys tend to be stingy with compliments, but this is Brad Keselowski's second win here. It's his second win of the season. Where would you rank him or grade him out right now as a restrictor plate driver and as a title contender right now in Cup?
It's your turn.
He's no dummy, that's for sure. He's got good plate racing skills. I think he's got good short track mile-and-a-half skills too. It's not that Brad should be a title contender each and every year. Last year he did a great job there through the summer stretch and was one of the hottest guys going into the chase and qualified his way in on wins. And then this year, he's probably in the top 10 in points or close to with 2 wins. Again, he's the top seed for the chase guys. So, he's definitely no slouch. They've had some bad luck this year with some fueling issues and stuff like that where they've been taken out of probably some even better runs. But, that Penske organization's been around for a long time. That Blue Deuce has been known for being top 10 in points and winning races. So it's no surprise that Brad Keselowski can't do that.
Yeah, I think Brad can run pretty good everywhere if you look at the races that he's won. I think they're all been all different styles of tracks. So, Brad is really good. It reminds me a lot of Kyle when he came in. He works really hard at it too. I think that's one thing people don't notice or give him enough credit for. I think he works at it really hard, probably harder than a lot of people, and I think that's a lot of the reason for his success.
Other questions in the press box?
No more questions.
All right, back down here. Go ahead, Jay, right in the middle.
Jay Busby, Yahoo Sports behind here. Tony Stewart just gave an interview in which he said, presumably sarcastically, that if 50% of the field is not wrecked, they need to extend the race. What are both of your thoughts on the emphasis on wrecking at Talladega, particularly after we've had these long green flag races?
It's still your turn.
I didn't understand the question.
I did 2 in a row, so you just did 1, so it's your turn again.
The question, let me rephrase it. Basically, Tony is protesting the emphasis on wrecks and how Talladega is billed as this big wrecking track and so forth. Does that concern you, how much emphasis is placed on wrecking cars at this track?
I'm not going to comment on what Tony had to say, but because that's Tony's comments. For me, whatever Talladega and Daytona is it's a restrictor plate race. That's what we all know going into the weekend. Some of us love coming here, others dread it. And I'll be the first one to admit I hate restrictor plate racing. You don't have your own control of your own destiny, I don't feel like. We saw today, I think the 22 may have turned down a little bit on the 11 and then wrecked 8 other guys, so that's a product of what you get at restrictor plate racing sometimes. And, everybody's fighting for every square inch you could get, and it's just a matter of what happens. I think another guy who would probably vouch my same opinion isn't even here this weekend, and that's Mark Martin, because he don't want a restrictor plate race either.